Hey folks, welcome to the Clear Creek Cabin. Thanks for stopping by to see us. So today I want to talk to you about my little BFF, my best friend here on the farm. It's my little 1025r tractor with the front loader and the backhoe. It's been a completely invaluable tool for us here on this little hobby farm of ours here in Tennessee. We've done so many things with it, it's just amazing. I'm owning it for 2 years now, and just what we've done, it's just been absolutely amazing. We've hauled probably close to 60, 70 tons of sand. I've dug post holes, we've built buildings, we've done all kinds of things you can imagine where this tractor's been so invaluable for us. So I figured what I would do is start a little series called my 1025r BFF and show you some of the things that we've done. So today, what we'll do is take you down to the other side of the property. I have to do some staking up of some Virginia pine Christmas trees that we planted a number of years ago. We had planted them alongside of the border of the woods to be able to provide a buffer in the winter months when there's no leaves on the trees. And we had some pretty heavy winds and some wet conditions for several days, and it blew some of them over a little bit on an angle. So I've got to stake them back up. There's a couple I've got to move. So that's what we're going to do today in this first video of my series called my 1025r BFF. So come on along, we'll show you what that's all about. And while you're here, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notifications bell so you can be notified when we put up our next video. And give us a thumbs up if you like this video and any of them that we do. So come on along, we'll go down and get started on the trees. You come and help? You are? You guys are such a big help. Come on, give me a hand. Come on. Come on over, give me a hand. They're so helpful. Hey folks, today we're going to stake up my Virginia pine Christmas trees. We had some strong wind the other day and it blew them over. We had 2 or 3 days of heavy rain, and with the rain and the ground being as wet as it was and very strong winds, it blew them over. One of the bad things that is set up with these trees is that they're tall and kind of lanky. They don't have much growth on the backside because of the shade. I'm really not going to be growing them to sell them as Christmas trees. We're just growing them pretty much as a buffer. In the winter months when there's no leaves, I just want to have the extra buffer. So today we're going to stake them up and trim them up and get them back in shape for the season. One of the things that you're going to want to do if you're going to trim any kind of a tree or shrub, I don't recommend what they call crush cutters. They make a cutter where the blade actually seats down and hits the actual bottom part of the cutter. You really need to use bypass blades, the ones that go past one another. That way you get a good clean cut and you don't actually crush the stem of the plant or of the tree. You should always clean them with rubbing alcohol prior to using them, even if you clean them before you put them away. It's just a really good thing to do. Just make sure that there's no kind of bacteria or anything on there when you trim the trees. For Christmas trees, what you want to do is you're going to want to trim only the top part that's green. There's a little section here that's only about 3 or 4 inches tall. You're going to want to cut just that and nothing more. This little part right here. And what you're going to want to do is you can take that down as low as you want to, but you don't want to get any of the hard wood. You want to get just the green part and trim that off. And the same thing goes for any kind of a lateral tree limb that you want to try to shorten so it doesn't continue to grow. This particular lower branch is really very kind of long, and you can see it's got the new growth on the very tip of it. And again, you just trim off that little tip of it. Only part where the green is, none of the actual hardwood. You can punch this off lots of times with just your fingers, but that'll keep that branch from continuing to grow out. So hopefully it will kind of stabilize it a little bit more. You're going to want to cut yourself some stakes. These are 16 inches. I used an old 2x4 that I'd ripped in half, so these are about 1.5 by 1.5. I sharpened the ends with the chop saw and then put a little notch in the top so that you can put the twine in. And in this particular case, I think the trees are pretty good lateral back and forth this way. I think I only need to stake them from the back side to get them back to where we need them to be. So obviously get yourself a hammer and a stake. Shouldn't be too hard to do, let's hope. Unless I hit a root or something here. Having donkeys and having bales of hay, I was able to save regular old baling twine, and that's what we'll use to wrap around the tree. You don't want to put the twine directly on the tree. You're going to want to give it some kind of a cushion. So I had bought some regular rubber tubing from the hardware store. You don't need very much, you just need a small little piece that's going to go around the actual tree trunk. So you cut that probably, I'd say, 5-6 inches long. Run your line through it, like so. And pick a spot and wrap it on your tree. I don't need to go up really high. You don't want to try to break off any of the branches, but you're going to want to try to set it in a spot where it's not going to slide down on the tree. You don't have to get too fancy here. What I do is I come in and just tie a little simple little knot in here. Bow line probably is the best if you know how to tie one of those. And then pretty much what you can do is I use a little pair of wire cutters to cut the twine with. So what you can do is just take this and wrap this around the base of your stake. So once you get it wrapped around the tree, you can just insert the line in the little notch that you put in your peg. Pull your tree to about where you think it's going to be, where you think you need it. I'd say it'd be right about there. Looks pretty good. And then what I do is I tie a little loop. I find that spot and I tie a little loop just by looping it over like that, wrapping around and tying it up through. So you've got a nice tight loop. That way when you bring your twine around again, what you can do is just put it right through that loop and tighten up your tree. Okay, once you got it where you want it, you just knot it off. That's simple. That's all there is to it. And you can cut off any excess. And you're done. Here's number one. Not quite sure what's happened to this tree. We've got a couple branches that look like they may be dying. I don't know if they're dead or not. What you can do is you can scrape the bark on those branches to make sure that it's still green on the inside and that you see some life. But like with everything else, you want to make sure that you wipe your knife with the rubbing alcohol. You don't want to transfer any kind of disease or anything. And you can just grab the branch, do a little rub back, and see if it's still alive. Still green in there, so I think we're okay. What we'll do is we'll just trim them up and see how it goes. We can check them a little later this year. Looks like there's some new buds in this area right here, so maybe it'll be okay. This looks like it's got new growth up in there as well. It's nice and green. And that's green on the tip there, so we're going to leave that. pull it down and do the top. This has a couple shoots coming off of it. It's got a primary shoot and another one, so we're going to want to get them both off of there. And we're going to have to stake this one up too. Okay, so you're probably saying to yourself, what makes this guy such an expert? Well, I'm no expert, but I do have some history. The history I have is that we owned a True Value hardware store and garden center for a number of years in North Carolina. And I learned a real lot at that time because we sold shrubs and all kinds of plantings. And I had to kind of self-taught on how to take care of the stuff. If we sold trees, people, I would have to be able to give them advice. So if somebody asked me a question I didn't know, I'd always look it up and get right back to them. That's what we did. So it worked well for us, and I learned a real lot. Got a great appreciation for growing trees and plants. I love doing it. I learned a ton. Okay, this last tree over here is a double tree. I didn't realize when I got the saplings from the Eastern Tennessee forestry that there was two trees in one, and I planted them, and now they've grown up into two separate trees in the same hole. I'm going to want to dig them out of there and separate them. Plus, this particular location is where I plan on putting a pathway to our second culvert for the stream. You may have seen in one of our last videos that we had a very heavy rain and some flooding down by our culverts, and I'm afraid that if we lose one culvert, we would maybe still have the second one to be able to travel over, and I don't have access to the second one from our main driveway. So I'm going to take these trees out of here right now, so let's do it. ended up with a bare root here. This one may or may not take, I don't know. But what we're going to do is we're going to trim back any new growth on it so that it can put all of the energy into the roots and not worry about shaping it this year. And I'll give it a real hard shot of fertilizer. Miracle-Gro is wonderful stuff. What I typically do is mix up some Miracle-Gro and always use it as a fertilizer when planting anything. It kind of acts like a aspirin or buffered aspirin for the plant to kind of get it through its shock. So it's always a good thing to go ahead and give it a shot of Miracle-Gro. I also use Osmocote, which is a sprinkle-on fertilizer. It's little teeny pellets, it's slow release. It's also very good. Pine trees, they make a special pine tree fertilizer that you can use. I just use whatever I have on hand. Okay, we'll see how that does. May or may not take. If anything, it was going to be in the way anyway, so if it makes it, it makes it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We've got a tree over here that came over in the wind. This is all bedrock and ledge here. And there's not much of a tree root that's on the bottom of that tree over there. So what we're going to do is try to push it up. I don't know if we'll end up breaking it or not, but we're going to try to push it up and leave it upright. I'm not going to stake it or anything. It's not a tree I planted, but maybe we can straighten it up until the next Wednesday. Well, it was worth a try. I'm not sure it's going to stay. I tilted it over further than it was before. It's all on ledge there. It's probably not going to make it. But if it doesn't make it, I'll cut it down and use it for a fence post. My wife's looking for some flat rocks, stepping stones. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel while you're here, please, and hit that notifications button so you'll know the next time that we upload a video. Share our channel with some friends, and we really appreciate it. God bless you. See you next time.